6 months after a rocket ship owned by the Life Foundation crashes in eastern Malaysia, news reporter Eddie Brock begins poking around the facility. Brock is already on the Foundation's shit list, as about 6 months earlier, during an interview, he began asking too many questions, an action that wound up getting him and his fiancée Anne, Michelle Williams, fired, and then subsequently terminated the engagement. Since then, Anne has picked up a new boyfriend, and Eddie has completely fallen on hard times to the point that he can barely function at all. And Eddie, in an attempt to redeem himself and at the behest of a Foundation scientist, begins inspecting the facility. He discovers that 3 beings, known as symbiotes, got harvested from this ship, except there were supposed to be 4. 1 got away. 2 of those symbiotes have since died as they were trying to be tested on whether or not these symbiotes could be bonded to human beings. However, 1 symbiote has been bonded to a homeless woman Eddie knows named Maria. While trying to escape, Maria winds up transferring the symbiote to Eddie, and he winds up discovering the symbiote's name is Venom, and together they have to work in order to shut down the Foundation and its leader, Carlton Drake, who it turns out has bonded with that lost 4th symbiote, whose name is Riot. And it's all in 3D! Yeah, so, yes, I saw the 3D screening. That was really the only one available at the best time. So, I'll say this right off the bat, the 3D does not add anything at all to this film. In fact, this film is quite lacking in a lot of sense. I had seen a couple early spoiler-free reviews that did say it would fall into the kind of so bad it's good category, the enjoyably bad, but it really didn't for me. For one thing, the pacing on this film is really terrible. Like, they really did not need to do, like, the 6-month thing. I mean, I think it was only done because in that time frame, Anne terminates the engagement, and then she sort of hooks up with this doctor who kind of pops up a few more times throughout the rest of the movie, but that's about it. I mean, really, if you were going to do the 6-month thing, have a crash, then do the 6 months jump, and then sort of call back to the idea that Eddie got fired, and do sort of like a little bit of a flashback to that later on. It would have been a little more tightly paced. Also, it's a long time before the true Venom really shows up. And it's just, yeah, again, like I said, it's a kind of a long time before the true Venom shows up, and in that time, it's just kind of get to the point. I want to see Venom. That's the whole reason I'm here, is to see Eddie really be Venom. And you get little pieces of that, like, you know, the Venom symbiote's hungry and it's trying to eat things, but unfortunately, it's like the symbiotes really crave living tissue. You have to eat something that's alive. If you're eating something that's hungry, it's not really satisfying them unless you eat like copious amounts. And things like that happen, which does actually parallel something in the comics, because one of the reasons why Eddie was Venom for so long and the symbiote never really took over him was because he actually had a terminal cancer. And he was and so when the Venom symbiote attached to him, the Venom symbiote subsisted himself on the cancer cells, which didn't attack Eddie at the time, and so that's why it was so long. So that's kind of a cool thing that they did. They do, like I said, Riot, which is the sort of master symbiote who escapes earlier and then returns and bonds with Carlton Drake, the leader of the Life Foundation. It's like, again, that just kind of takes forever and ever and ever. Like, again, the pacing in this film is just really bad. It's way too stretched out. Also, the film is very choppily edited. It was rumored that this was going to be an R-rated movie for a long time, and then kind of right about a month or so before it came out, it got downgraded to a PG-13. And I think you could tell that they wanted to go way more into a body horror type thing, and it didn't work. I will say this, I did like Michelle Williams. Tom Hardy is pretty good playing the kind of sad sack Eddie Brock. You really get the idea that he is a loser. The banter between Eddie and the symbiote is really well done. It's really kind of funny because every time, like, there's one point where Eddie is trying to escape, and the symbiote is in there and says, "Just jump out the window." And Eddie instead takes the elevator, and the symbiote just goes, "You pussy." And, like, that was actually pretty well done. I mean, that works, and you get little bits of that, and you even get a little bit of Annie trying to talk to the symbiote as well, and it really that kind of works well. There is actually another point where Eddie is in an MRI room, but they can't do an MRI on him because it would cause him to reject the symbiote. But when Eddie finds out that this may have damaged his heart, he gets angry and turns on the MRI really loud, and it ejects the symbiote. But later she realizes that this is bad, and Eddie gets taken back to the Foundation in the process. And she winds up bonding with the symbiote so she could bring it back to him. And she actually gets a lot of the effect of that too. Like, she bites someone's head off. Like, I just bit someone's head off. Like, yeah, it does that. And she's, again, so her arguing with the symbiote is also kind of funny and well done. Unfortunately, that's kind of where it goes. Like I said, the editing is very chopped. Like, you could tell where they were cutting parts out so that bits of that so that they could chop this down to a PG-13. And on top of that, I wish they had done more with the other symbiotes. I mean, yeah, Riot's there, but you could have maybe done a couple of the other things. Like, they would bond to people, but again, because they would feast on living tissue, and they didn't, and the scientists at the Foundation don't quite understand this. The test subjects die, and unfortunately, in a couple of cases, like, two of them accidentally get left out and not fed again for another, not put back into their stasis pods, and those symbiotes wind up dying. And it's like, you could have done something with that. Like, the scientist that sort of tips Eddie off as to what happened. Her name, she's played by Jenny Slate. I think her name is Dr. Skirch. And, like, that's Skirch, you could kind of alter that to say Shriek, which could have been cool. Again, given what happens during the end credit sequence, which I'll get to, that could have really worked. So, overall, I can't say I really hated this movie, but I can't recommend it to anyone. I would not put this into the so bad it's good category. I would just kind of put this in the flatly dull category. It's really only the banter between certain characters that kind of carries the picture. So I am going to give Venom a D. So I'll get now to the post-credit sequence where, well, the mid-credit sequence. The mid-credit sequence is Eddie is called to San Quentin Penitentiary because a certain individual wants to interview him there, and it's Woody Harrelson as Cletus Cassidy. And Cletus says, "When I get out of here, I'm going to wreak a lot of carnage." And you're left wondering, like, did he somehow bond with the symbiote already? Obviously, there's sequel baiting, so you could at least say that. And then we get to the end credits, after the credits have rolled, and we get a sequence from Into the Spider-Verse. Miles Morales is trying to avoid getting caught by the Prowler. As he finally manages to elude the Prowler, he visits Peter Parker's grave and apologizes because he can't carry on Peter's legacy. And it's then that he winds up bumping into Peter Parker. And it sends this kind of shockwave that actually knocks Peter unconscious, but it also alerts the police that there's someone in this graveyard. And he tries to pick up Peter and carry him off, and as they're trying to escape, they latch onto a subway until Peter's webbing breaks, and both fall to the ground unconscious, and that's how it ends. I have no idea why this was part of the film. I mean, it looked cool. I'm interested in seeing Into the Spider-Verse, but I don't know what that had to do with Venom. Is Venom in Into the Spider-Verse?
I've taught my cousin Ashley a lot.
And I'm a fast learner.
Will you stop talking dirty? I've given her meaningful life lessons. My sister.
Like how to party. Daddy.
Okay, bye.
The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, all week long. Fresh Prince, weekdays at 4:30 on News Channel 20.
Before we get to the trailers, I should also point out I got a complimentary Venom comic. I don't know how well you can see it here. It's not like a full adaptation. It's only a couple of sequences from it, and I mean, there's one. It's one of the better. There are a couple of the better sequences. I will say that, but also the infamous turd in the wind bit doesn't happen until the very, very, very end of the movie. Okay, anyway, moving on to the trailers. We actually got mostly new ones. We got Glass, that's the sequel to Unbreakable and Split. We got Robin Hood, the new Robin Hood movie, which is sort of a modern take. It doesn't look very good. Creed 2, again. Bumblebee, again. Aquaman, again. Girl in the Spider's Web again, and then we got Into the Spider-Verse, which again made that post-credit scene even more weird. After that, we got Alita Battle Angel, which just got. I made an itinerary. I didn't post it on my blog at all, but I was making the itinerary because Alita Battle Angel, Aquaman, and Bumblebee are all coming out. Were originally all coming out at the same time. I had that set up, and then about 2 days after I wrote down that itinerary, Alita Battle Angel got bumped back to February, so something else will probably get into that place. But after that, we had Captain Marvel to round things off. So, yeah. Anyway, next video is going to be the Super Showdown review that'll be up on Saturday. I won't be watching that live. It'll be delayed a few hours. I've got the full script written for the big Sandman review. I've got half the audio recorded. I got to record the other half and shoot the on-camera bits. I also need to get some pictures and stuff set up for it. So see you all next time. Hey guys, is there a movie you want me to tackle? Even if it's some stinker like Baywatch or the Emoji Movie or something else? Check out my Patreon at Sleepy Time for Cat Productions. See how you can make that happen.